I have a quick question for you. Do you actually think that over the last couple of decades, maybe even the last 10, 15 years more specifically, do you think that American healthcare needs have been properly accounted for and taken care of, and the necessary precautions, the necessary moves and policies are made in the best interest of American children? We have a diabetes epidemic out of control. Americans, far and wide. Do you actually think that the healthcare lobbyists, big pharma, and the swamp vermin of the healthcare industry specifically has done a good job in the last couple of decades? If not, if you're like me and you actually believe in facts and you do your due diligence and you not only do you see the difference, but there is an abundance of data and analytics that prove the otherwise, well, then you're happy that President Trump has appointed Bobby Kennedy Jr. to head the HHS, and we might actually make America healthy again. I believe in the MAHA movement, okay? And the video that I'm going to share with you today is Calley Means, right to their faces, telling them what frauds they are, what jokes they are, the entire media apparatus, the entire big pharma, lobbyists, and executives to their faces. This is such a brilliant clip. If you don't know who Calley Means is, he's been on Tucker Carlson. He's been on multiple shows and podcasts, wrote a book with his sister on, the basic lie and hypocrisy of big pharma and the healthcare industry prior to Trump taking office. And he now works with Bobby Kennedy, a special government employee for the HHS. And I have two clips to share for you. This first one is going to blow your mind. It's going to twist your wig. It's so good. And then the second one, this Democratic, it's just more proof. We have to call these hypocrites out. Jake Auchincloss from Massachusetts at this same event, where it's really a room full of anti-MAHA lobbyists. I'm going to play for you a clip where he just embarrasses himself. But first, check this out. It is so phenomenal.
Right now, it seems like the first priority has actually been to make a lot of cuts. This week, there's news of massive cuts to HHS. At this point, about a quarter of HHS's 82,000 employees have left or are expected to be terminated. So just some of the changes here. You've laid off big chunks of offices in charge of vaccine and drug research, HIV/AIDS research, AI, funding for services for the elderly and low-income people, STD prevention, rural health, with very little lead time. Right. What do you say to people in the public who are concerned now about drug safety, about whether we're prepared for the next pandemic when these cuts have happened so hard, so fast?
Yeah, I'd say to the reporters in the room and the lobbyists in the room, obviously make your case, but I'd truly ask for, as you're making it, a little bit of humility about what the voters were trying to say by putting Bobby Kennedy Jr. in this position of power. I would a little bit of humility to ask why Bobby Kennedy, along with President Trump, are the two most popular political figures in America by far. What the voters are trying to say, and I think they were right, is that the system is really on the wrong track. That the existing health authorities just demonstrably, the NIH oversaw, and this is just consensus at this point, the literal creation of a pandemic. The NIH, whose goal is to promote American health, has overseen a devastation, just an abject devastation in American health over the past 20 years, with disease rates skyrocketing in America, leading the world of almost every single chronic disease, with rates of nearly every single chronic disease being at an all-time high among kids. There's been very little innovation with small pharma, with innovative therapeutics at the FDA. It costs $1 billion to get through the process. CMS is an agency that's much larger budget than Defense Department, that's controlled by the American Medical Association, which is a pharmaceutical lobbying group and is almost predominantly sick care. So there's real problems. And when you turn on CNBC, it's just a nonstop. It's a nonstop infomercial for pharma. It's a Skyrizi commercial followed by Scott Gottlieb saying how Bobby's killing people, followed by a breathless coverage of the measles outbreak and no mention of the mental health crisis.
How does cutting a bunch of HHS solve that problem?
It is insane it is insane for you to insinuate that the thing standing between us and better health is more government bureaucrats. Like that is demonstrably
That's not what I'm insinuating.
That is what everyone's saying. It is absolutely insane to insinuate that it's some crime.
It's not all bureaucrats. It's a lot of scientists, it's researchers, it's people who are making sure that
those scientists fundamentally have overseen, just demonstrably, a record of utter failure. It would be insane. Is that funny?
Not true.
Is that not true? I'd love to hear how, so what metrics would you guys point to for how the scientific community, how the 4 times more per capita on healthcare spending that we spend in America versus other countries has produced innovation? Has there been one single chronic disease medication in modern American history that has lowered rates of the chronic disease? It is appropriate that the American Academy of Pediatrics right now, which is 90% funded by pharma, is pushing Ozempic on 6-year-olds.
Calley,
that is what the medical authorities are doing.
Why not then use the power that you guys have to push the existing infrastructure in that direction instead of slashing it altogether?
It's not slashing. It's taking it back to 2017 levels. That's not slashing. The amount of bureaucrats.
It's more like 2002 levels, actually.
In many cases, it's actually just not that much. But it is cutting, what is it, 20,000 people? It's taking it back to, it's taking the HHS back to 68,000 employees. It is absolutely, like the idea that Bobby Kennedy should not come in and make dramatic changes to the leadership and the personnel at these authorities that have overseen an abject devastation of American health, which the lobbyists in this room do not have the humility to admit that we have gone completely wrong. The lobbyists in this room laughing when we have the sickest children in the developed world. If you guys, if that is your attitude, and your attitude is to tell the MAHA moms that their votes and their voice is not legitimate, that we need dramatic changes to American healthcare, if you think it is illegitimate for Bobby Kennedy to not make big changes to people like Peter Marks, who once again and again went against FDA advisory opinions, who fired the 2 top vaccine makers, the 2 top vaccine scientists at the FDA for suggesting that we shouldn't mandate COVID shots for soldiers, who continually went against expert opinion in favor of the pharmaceutical industry, who many people here were collaborating with him with. The fact that somebody like that can't be fired and he can't install tremendous people like Marty McCary and Jay Bhattacharya and Dr. Oz to start reforming these agencies and put in their people, of course he should do that. That's what people voted for.
You hear the lobbyist in the crowd go, not true? We have the worst obesity epidemic we've ever had in our country. We've got diabetes levels for children under the age of 12 at the worst level we've ever seen. We've got healthcare problems, coverage. Obamacare has ruined literally everything. When you have the government throw their hands on huge infrastructure and institutions like healthcare, it usually, most often, if you look at history, doesn't end up helping it, but setting it back by tons and tons in multiple different ways. And Calley's right. This is exactly what the people voted for. Why do you guys continually want to defy the will of the people? You're supposed to be working for us, a government working for us, your public servants, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. How many times do we need to remind you? How powerful was that by Calley Means? It's the same thing with Trump. We've had the worst, dark, abysmal years prior to January 20th, 2025. Of course, he's going to take dramatic measures. And by the way, Warren Buffett approves of these huge tariffs and reciprocal tariffs. Why is it okay for other countries to tariff us? Places like Sri Lanka and Madagascar, 96% tariffs on us, but we can't give them reciprocal? What's wrong with fairness? Follow the money. There's something going on here. Check out this ridiculous clip from somebody who I think, and the reason I'm sharing this is not only because of his idiocy, his lunacy, but he represents the ballsless, feckless. He's like a beautiful metaphor for the entire Hippocrat cabal in this one short clip. Watch this.
The arrogance of these bros that have descended on Washington, D.C. I mean, these professional podcasters stand in front of a bunch of career scientists and say, what has science ever done? Oh, I don't know. Science eradicated measles until 2 months ago. Science means that a kid who grows up with cystic fibrosis now has a real chance at life. Science means that women who give birth now don't face a 1 in 5 chance of dying. They can now build families through IVF. Science is core to who we are as Americans, and their excuse for destroying our scientific enterprise with their conspiracy and quackery is because they're the first ones who ever thought that chronic disease was a problem. Michelle Obama 15 years ago was talking about this. Blue cities like New York City and Philadelphia were doing this, and Republicans were saying, don't touch our French fries. But this guy, all of a sudden, he's the first one to ever realize that chronic disease is a problem. We will not take a lecture from people who are based in conspiracy and quackery and who are claiming the moral high ground on corruption when Brad Smith, who is running health and human services for DOJ, is hiring and firing his own regulators. Main Street Health reports to CMS, and he's deciding who gets to be there or not. This corruption and chaos will not stand. The American people will not stand for it. And Democrats are going to draw the contrast.
Yeah, the Democrats are going to help, who've been, basically doing the same thing for the last 50, 60, 70 years. He mentioned scientists from hundreds of years ago, but he doesn't mention any current scientists. And Michelle Obama, you're going to actually cite Big Mike as a reference, as somebody who's doing good? What has she done? She hasn't done jack. And now she started a brand new podcast where she's essentially saying the quiet part out loud that her and Obama might be getting a divorce. That's your point of reference? Look at the data, pal. Look at the statistics. He doesn't mention obesity rates. He doesn't mention diabetes rates. He doesn't mention cancer rates. He doesn't mention the fact that millions and millions of Americans got their health care stripped away from them from same Obama not that long ago. This is the Democrats. Do the same old thing and then claim to be fighting for America. I can't wait to get your thoughts on this. Let me know in the comments down below. This is a really, really big issue that real adults need to tackle. And the American people have already made their voice heard resoundingly on November 5th. And I just hope that, we should all be fighting this together. This should not have anything to do with politics. The health of our children should be a nonpartisan issue. But of course, the hypocrites, because probably they got fat pockets from Pfizer, et cetera, and the Fauci-induced pandemic, they're fighting against us. So we need to keep fighting back. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Tap that thumbs up if you love America. Check out these videos coming up on the screen right here. Tap my face right there to subscribe and follow. It's free. And as always, may God bless you and may God bless the USA. I'll see you soon.